All right, here we go. It is episode number 29 of Bet
Wow.
Parks Presents. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Bet Parks Presents the Odd G's podcast. There he is, Harry Mays, Jason Myrtetus. A lot to talk about as we finally start to get into that season, Harry, where something's actually happening.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the Eagles are actually going to play a preseason football game this week, this Friday night against the Jets. And, of course, they had their big open practice on their first of, I don't know how many they're doing, 2 or 3, whatever. They usually do 2 at least, down at the link. And I know we're going to talk about that. But, yeah, it's getting close, man. Like, it's just a couple weeks away until college football, and they have that big opening week. And then, the week after that, Thursday night football in the NFL. And it was at Tampa Bay and Dallas.
Yep.
Is that the first game?
I think
or
it
is it
might
somebody else?
I just like the fact that there's only 3 preseason. There's not as much preseason football.
Yeah.
Now, Harry, did you lay a wager down? Did you break out the Bet Parks app on the Hall of Fame game, Harry?
No, I did not. In fact, I was away. I was up in Connecticut for a couple of days at my sister's place. And I was kind of out of the loop with what was going on here locally and even on the national level with the Hall of Fame, because I actually thought it was going to be Friday, and it ended up being Thursday night. So the game had already been played, and I'm like thinking, boy, I would have probably taken an under. And then I looked up the score, and it was like, 27-11, I think. The Raiders beat the Jaguars and Dougie P, and the game would have gone over because most of these totals sit around 32.5, 33 and a half for preseason, and they put up 38. So I would have lost had I wagered.
Yeah, well, you can get the Bet Parks app. This is the time to get it because you just laid it out. Everything is in front of you.
Right.
The NFL season, I cannot wait for college football. College football, you've got NBA, basketball coming, college and pro, hockey. It's all there right in front of you. Not to mention the remainder of the baseball season into the playoffs is always fun to get action on as well.
No doubt about it. And actually, that first NFL game is the Bills at the Rams.
Ooh. That's
September 8th at 8:20 on NBC. That's the first game of the year. So it's Bills-Rams.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So all the action's right in front of you, and you can get your action in on what's going on now with Major League Baseball, with tennis, with golf, and Formula One when it returns at the end of the month as well. So get the all-new Bet Parks app. It's easy to use, easy to navigate, and faster to win than ever before. You got it right there, Harry. What's that you got up on there?
Well, that's the golf. Of course, the FedEx Cup playoffs start this week in Memphis. You imagine how hot and sweaty Memphis is in August. I was down there for this tournament a few years ago, and, man, you talk about, that's like jungle heat down there.
Yeah,
at this
unbearable.
But I'm taking Sungjae Im here on the Parks app at plus 3,300 to win. And in a top 10, they give you the top 5, top 10s, top 20s are easy to navigate too. Plus 335 for Im on top 10.
Okay, so you got that play in action for the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
And there's tons more to bet on too. You can find other plays you like there. Props, parlays, player performances, live in-game betting, same game parlays, daily boosts. It's all there on the Parks app. And right now, all Bet Parks users can use the promo code JASON750 and get a risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions do apply. Just download the Bet Parks app today. You need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Did you see A.J. Brown's tweet, Harry, after the practice at Lincoln Financial Field? He was blown away.
I didn't see the tweet, but I heard that he was taken aback by the reaction of the fans to what were they singing Jalen Hurts happy birthday to Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
And he was just blown away. First of all, by the fact that 30,000 or some odd people show up for this practice, I think blew him away. And then to have these fans, sing along a happy birthday to the quarterback. I can imagine, what that could be like from a guy who's not from around here, doesn't really have any grasp of what it's like to be here as a professional athlete yet. And this might, is his first real run-in with fans. And he must be like, wow, this place is off the chain, man.
They're crazy. If we're good, they're going to be insane.
Yes. The hype is real.
Yeah, it is. And it was cool to see. I'm just so glad that football is back and it's relevant again. I hate that period of time where we become, other than golf and tennis, and I have Formula One, but of the majors, it's just baseball reliant.
Yeah.
But I will say that while we've had to be baseball reliant, the Phillies have been actually, relevant.
Oh yeah.
Just not just reliant, but relevant.
Yeah. I mean, they're a playoff team right now. And you start looking at their schedule here over the next couple of weeks, and it looks pretty good. I mean, they got the Marlins a bunch of times. They still have to play the Nationals, who are basically a AAA team at best right now. They got the Pittsburgh Pirates again for a couple of games, who are essentially a AAA squad. I mean, the schedule sets up for them. I know they got to play the Mets 7 times in the month of August, and then they have the Braves, 7 games against the Braves in September. And I believe they finish against the Houston Astros in October for 3 games. So those are some really tough games. Throwing Gabe Kapler's Giants squad on the road for 3.
Oh my!
But the schedule looks pretty good for the Phillies down the stretch. They're going to be starting getting players back at some point. You hope to get Harper back. They made all these moves at the deadline, which I liked what they did at the deadline, and the team looks like they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, they didn't just add guys; they got rid of some guys too that we're pretty happy about. But you're right; like the biggest deadline acquisition, it may be more like a September deadline, will be Harper, though.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, you add that bat back into your lineup and what he brings. He was in the booth last week for one of the games. God, I loved hearing that dude talk about baseball.
I didn't hear it. Awesome. It must have been when I was away. I didn't hear the Pete Rose stuff either, at least not firsthand. I've gone back and listened to some of it, but I'm sure he was much better than Pete.
Well, Pete was very memorable. I mean,
yeah.
First of all, Harry, you're going to have him come in. Of course, in 2017, he was supposed to come in for the Wall of Fame ceremony.
Right.
That got canceled because of the news about him dating the 14-year-old girl.
Way back in the 70s, like the early 70s, I think. Yeah. In Cincinnati.
He was, I think, 33 at the time, 34
married with kids.
Yep.
And she was underage.
And he admitted that he thought she was 16, which was the age of consent in Ohio at the time he was playing for the Reds.
Right.
And he came in this weekend, and for some reason, they didn't just bring him in to wave to the crowd. They let him talk to the media a couple times and stuck him in the booth.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I understand that they brought him in because they asked the other players, and the other players, by and large, all said, yeah, we wouldn't have won this thing without Pete. He's a part of this. Bring him, let's all get together. And I guess they acquiesced to that, which is fine. But then, like you said, why do they open it up where he can speak to the media? You got to do something to curb that, number one. Yeah. And then after all that, they allow him to go up into the booth and do an inning or whatever. Well, half an inning. I don't even know what it was on the broadcast. I mean, really?
Yeah. I mean, the guy. Look, he's going to go in there and he's going to tell stories. And they're great stories.
Right.
Problem is he's going to tell them like he's in the clubhouse.
Yeah, right. Like he's in the locker room kind of thing. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just awful. It's a bad look for everybody all around the organization, for Pete, although I don't even think he cares at this point. I don't think he cares how he's viewed in the least. But yeah, it's a bad look. And Curt Schilling even weighed in. Did you see that the other was it yesterday?
No, I didn't see this.
Oh, yeah. He put out a tweet. I want to try to find it because you were like, wow, I didn't expect to hear this or read this coming from this guy. It was pretty remarkable. I'll find it here in a second.
Because Schill's pretty anti-cancel.
Yeah. Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah.
They've tried to cancel Schill a couple times.
Yeah, I think a large portion of society has canceled him. He just doesn't know it yet. Here's Curt Schilling. And he's replying to, I believe, the Inquirer reporter, the female reporter that was asking Pete Rose the question, and he popped off babe. Something like, he called her babe, and it was 55 years ago, babe. I'm not here to talk about it, whatever. And Curt Schilling says, I say this as someone who knows him, who he treated kindly, but the things he says and his lack of self-awareness are unreal. Hall of Fame talent? Absolutely. But just a bad, bad guy with literally zero morals or scruples and not an ounce of couth. Oh, that's man. Curt Schilling on Pete Rose.
He went couth.
Yeah, couth. That great word, couth.
That's the word that hurts.
Yeah.
That's couth. But like the balls on Rose too, to go. Oh, did I offend you? How about I sign you 1,000? Give you 1,000 signed balls. Like
Right.
he thinks
Great.
that's the answer to
I know.
everything.
I know. Well, listen, that's the world this guy has lived in, basically all his adult life
Yeah,
since
he's
being
bastardized his signature.
yeah. But I'd be saying like everybody wants, he's like, that's how he gets away with stuff. And that's how he's
Mhm.
behaved all his life. And all you have to do is look back to Pete Rose when I was a kid, when he was playing with the Cincinnati Reds. And I knew he was a great hitter and all that stuff. And this is when I was playing little league ball, and I couldn't hit worth a damn. But I knew Pete Rose was a really good hitter. But I always was like, I couldn't get over the haircut. I'm an 8-year-old kid, and I'm laughing at his haircut. He's an adult man.
I just brought this up. That's so funny that you bring that up.
That's all you need to know about Pete Rose.
Yeah, Darren DeGaetano, Dutch, our old buddy from WIP,
Oh yeah,
he puts this tweet out. He says, "What does not get spoken enough about is Pete Rose's refusal to change up the worst haircut ever, and his insistence on wearing an oversized flat brim hat everywhere he goes in public. He looks like a P.T. Barnum act."
Yeah, he really does. Right.
What is the haircut? Is it like a bowl cut?
It's the bowl cut, man. It's a cut that I wouldn't have wanted as an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And here he is, the third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, the hit king. He's got the bowl cut. I couldn't believe it.
And it's such a weird batting stance too.
Yeah.
Like
he was very odd.
Crunched. Yeah. He's such a bizarre man.
It's like Mark Davis. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Al Davis's son, who is now the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He has a similar goofy hair.
Yeah, he looks
ridiculous.
He looks like almost Amish.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
But the Amish people don't want to be identified with him.
Yeah, they've excommunicated Mark Davis. So this is probably the last we see a Pete here in Philadelphia, I would imagine.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. The old program director was a big fan of Pete Rose. So he would always have him come into the studio. Because you and I have been up close and personal with Pete, behind the scenes, and you just knew, like, putting a microphone in front of that guy, you're taking chances.
Yeah, when you're around him, it's like, okay, he's got a presence because he's Pete Rose, right, but. You also, when you're around him, you feel dirty like you did when you're around Lenny Dykstra.
I know there's like a scumbag kind of factor that goes along with him,
big time.
Yeah.
And Pete
is unfortunate.
There's a lot of ex-Phillies there's a lot of great ex-Phillies, like, Darren Dalton, who passed away 5 years ago this past week.
Yeah.
There's some great guys.
Larry Bowa is an ace.
He's the best, right?
Lazinski too.
Yeah, the Bull.
Yeah.
But you're right. Bo is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a great guy. He just loves the game so much. Like I'm not in love with baseball anymore. Like I've talked about it ad nauseum, but I respect Larry Bowa's commitment and love of the game because like it's so apparent.
Yeah.
He can hit.
I tell you, I've been watching a lot more over the last couple of weeks. I think I said that once before on a previous episode, but the other week or so ago, I was watching a Met game, and it was Scherzer on the mound, and I'm telling you, I was captivated.
Yeah,
I watched 7 innings until they took him out, and as soon as they took him out, the other team scored and tied up the game. The Mets ended up winning, I think, in either bottom of the 9th or 10th. 10th inning. But Scherzer was just a joy to watch. I love watching great pitchers. Like it was like Halladay back in the day with the Phillies. Like you just this is must-see TV.
Like Randy Johnson, I love because he was just such a freaking overpowering, and where they delivered the ball from was like literally almost like the first baseline.
Yeah.
But watching a guy like Greg Maddux, who was a surgeon, was
and not an imposing physical figure either. He looked like an accountant.
Yeah, he did. And he would just go up there and deal and just paint corners, and it was a chess match. It wasn't just I'm going to overpower you. It was so insane. And I do miss that element of watching the game. Like I liked watching a good pitching battle.
Yeah, now you get that every once in a while with Wheeler and Nola. They're two pretty good frontline starters for this team. It's going to give them a chance, at least in a playoff game.
You know,
You start looking at some of these rotations, man, like the Mets, with DeGrom now back from injury. Him and Scherzer at the top of that rotation. They could end up taking down the Dodgers.
the only thing about Noah I don't like is when it's a big, big game and it really means something. He doesn't seem to have his shit together. And
Wow.
he's not a pressure. I don't know if he's a pressure pitcher, Har.
Well,
That's the one thing.
How much pressure? How many big games have they been in since he's been in a Philly? You know what I mean? Like they haven't been a playoff team really.
Well, but they've been at points in seasons where you really need him to go out and have a good outing
And shut a team down. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's through 3 innings and he's given up 7 runs.
Mm-hmm.
It's concerning, but true, big stage pitching hasn't happened for him yet. Because you're right, they haven't been there in his tenure. So, I don't know what the Phillies do with the manager position going forward, but I think the general manager's done a good job.
Yeah,
they've done a good job here.
Yeah, they have. I think they bolstered the farm system, and they weren't going to be trading away their top prospect. I know they traded away the third best prospect, the catching prospect, because he was, he's blocked here. But you can question the trade there. Did they get enough back, for giving up this guy, this minor league player that was highly regarded? That's debatable. But yeah, I think they've done a pretty darn good job. But I think at this point, you're looking at a wild card team. At least maybe you get one game out of it.
Yeah, and
Dombrowski,
I think, has done a really nice job. So maybe he's the guy. Like he's the pseudo Pat Gillick now.
Yeah,
to get this team
and
finally
done a good job.
What's that?
The manager's done a good job. It just goes to show you how bad Joe Girardi was.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Girardi won a World Series with that Yankee team, and he had so much talent there.
Beat the Phillies.
That's exactly right, in 2009. And you look at it, and he was just a shit. Was he that much of a shit show that he was holding them back like this?
Yeah, apparently. Loyal to some players that one of which is no longer here, and Didi Gregorius. He just got recently released, and didn't communicate well. Apparently, we found that out after he was gone, and these guys just seem to be responding to the new guy. So would you have any problem if they extended this this manager? I got no issue with it.
Not based on the performance.
No,
the 2 best managers of the past decade have been Pete Mackanin, who came in as a replacement, and now this guy. That's pretty weird.
It is crazy.
Sometimes the big name doesn't really mean anything, but we'll see. All right, that's enough baseball. So I was at the Shore last week.
Right.
We went to Ocean City, Maryland for the first. I've never been to Ocean City, Maryland. Have you ever been down there?
Oh, all the time. That's where we used to go when I was a kid. We'd go to the Delaware seashore, places like Rehoboth on down through Dewey Beach, Delaware
Bethany.
Seashore State Park, Indian River Inlet, Bethany Beach, Fenwick Island, Ocean City, Maryland. That was the spot.
Okay.
That whole coast.
Well, I'd never been there. My dad grew up in Atlantic City as a kid, moved to Delaware County, like when he was in middle school. So we went to the Jersey Shore all the time. We didn't go to Atlantic City. We did maybe when I was really small, but when Atlantic City took a turn, we moved south and went to Sea Isle. My dad made a little scratch. He bought a house in Sea Isle, and I think 1983 they bought it. I looked this up this weekend. They bought a house on 62nd and Pleasure, which is basically you walk out the door, you walk across the street, and your toes are in the sand. So right on the beach, but not on the beach. So across the street. And they sold the house in 1995. So they bought the house, I think, for like $85,000.
Yeah.
And it was 2,800 square feet, split level, bedrooms on the first floor, everything else upstairs all open. And when they sold it for $198,000, the same people own it that bought it off my parents. It is now worth $1.4 million.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I'm pissed at my parents.
Why'd he sell it?
And my dad was in the mortgage business, Har. He should have seen the long play here.
Right.
And they sold it. and I'll never forgive him for
Wow. Well, it's funny you said at least you had one and it was sold. I guess that would almost be worse because I was always trying to get my dad to buy something down there.
Yeah.
In the 80s, late 80s, because that's when I became familiar really with the Jersey Shore. Because I ran with a group of guys at Shippensburg, and they could take their summers and go down there and lifeguard. Some of them were working the bars, and that's when I went down to Avalon and stayed with a bunch of those guys, got a job, in one of the bars as a bar back and all this stuff. And that was my introduction really to the Avalon Stone Harbor area, and love it, to this day.
Beautiful.
But I was always trying to get my dad, or mom and dad to buy something because it'd be worth $2-3 million by now. You know what I mean? Like it's insane.
Yeah. That property never doesn't go down.
No, it really doesn't.
And see, when we were kids, before Ocean City went dry, Sea Isle was known as Senile City because it was all old people.
Right.
And Ocean City was where it was, and Avalon and Stone Harbor. And then when Ocean City went dry, all the bars popped up in Sea Isle, and that became the spot, right? To go party at the OD and La Costa and Springfield.
Yeah,
the old Carousel, which they've recently torn down, and Kicks and all those different places. And, now it's a jump in place, and they sold it. So we went to Ocean City, Maryland, and Ange decided to find a place down there. It was awesome. Like, the place was great. We were right on a lagoon on the bay, and that's a really narrow island. So where we were, we had like the peace and tranquility of the bay, but only a block and a half walk to the beach.
Right.
So, and it was great. I mean, not far was a Wawa, and you had everything was right there, right? So I dropped off my son, and we brought one of his buddies, Connor, with us to drop them off the boardwalk one night. So I dropped them off, and I got to go pick them up. So I go pick them up. It's like 11:30, and I'm sitting there waiting at like 12th Street for them. They get in the truck, and I go to turn around, and I kind of pull in this parking lot and to back up, and all of a sudden I hear this noise, like my truck hit something. Like I hit this car. I'm like, I know the size of my truck. I didn't hit this car, so I go to back up, and I just hear this screeching noise, and this guy outside's like, stop. So I stop, I go out, and my bumper is like ready to fall off onto the ground. I'm like, I didn't hit this fucking car. I look down, and this prick has his car in the parking lot with one of those things you hook into a trailer hitch, and it's a flat platform, so you can put like your cooler on it and stuff and strap it in. Yeah. But this asshole doesn't put it so it goes up against the back of the car. And I'm in a truck. There's no way I'm going to see a black platform on the back of this car. And this thing's in the parking lot. And this old guy comes up as I'm putting my bumper back on the car and said, you're about the 6th person that's done this because you can't see it from your car.
I didn't see it.
And I was rip shit pissed. I mean, Howard, when I walked out, the bumper was 5 inches pulled away from the vehicle.
So now
we were able to pop it back in place with a little assistance from the couple of the guys that were down in that area.
Yeah.
I wanted to take this guy. I looked at it. There's a pin. You pull it and you fold it up.
Yeah.
But this selfish asshole left it laying out in a freaking parking lot.
Well, now what happens with the damage? Like, is this an insurance deal? What do you do?
I popped the bumper back in place, and there's a little bit of scrape on the side of the bumper and like some paint like off it. It's paint on plastic. I mean, it wouldn't even be worth putting through insurance. I'm just going to have to pay for it. And I wanted to take the thing off this guy's car so bad. And everything in my power was to not take it off because I was going to take the thing off and put it on the guy's hood.
So the guy that owned that car, he never came out. Like, you never met him?
Nope.
Okay. You know what that is. That's an geez.
That is an geez. A pissed off geez. I mean, that was what is going on back there?
I'm not dealing with this today.
The noise I heard, I was like, what the hell I thought I destroyed the car.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm not even close to the car. I was so angry. but I got over it and ate an edible and went to the
Wow.
beach.
There you go.
Actually, I didn't eat an edible. I got these capsules now because they
Yeah?
don't sell the edibles in PA. So if you have the card, they're considered recreational hair, the
Okay.
edible. So
Yeah, I don't deal in this, so I have no idea about any of this stuff.
well, the old lady the guy who owns the dispensary that the old lady goes to
Mhm.
probably just bought a new shore house, one of those $3 million homes at Avalon because of the
Is
old
that
lady.
right?
She pulls up, they get a hand truck out here.
Uh-huh.
So,
you gotta go around back to the dock, to the
Yeah.
loading dock. Like when you come to get your order.
we rent a U-Haul to
Right.
pick up her order here. And she was buckled all week,
Oh yeah.
right? Truly's in the pen here. She was going nuts. So she gets me this thing. I'm like, don't make the edibles. She gets me these capsules. And the first time I took one, I was like, this might be a little too strong for me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was holding on to the earth, hoping it would rotate slower. But it was a great week.
But you didn't get sunburned. I saw you put out a post on one of your social media. I forget. I guess it was your Twitter.
The old lady
or
put it out.
The old lady's Twitter. Yeah, and I saw you out there in the water with your dome exposed. What were you doing to the dome? Were you going SPF 50 or higher?
Well, I go with the as high as I can go, like an 80.
Mm.
And then I also wear the bucket hat, like the waterproof bucket hat. I have an
Right.
Adidas one. Somebody said I need to get a CCM one, which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But no, I put that on and I wear the hat as much as possible. But I had the long sleeve swim shirt on.
Mm.
And that's like, that's basically like wearing 100 proof sunscreen.
Right.
Because I got this light Irish skin that just burns and peels. So I don't deal with it anymore. So I wear the swim shirt. And that shirt,
Right.
when it gets wet, keeps you cooler too.
Hmm. What kind of
So-
material is it?
It's like a board shirt. So you don't get a
Okay.
rash when you're surfing and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's that kind of, it's not like a dry tech, but it's a little bit different than that. But they're great. So I
Nice.
was wearing that, and Boston Gary was giving me shit
Oh yeah.
for wearing the swim shirt.
Well, he gives everybody shit
Yeah.
on this show.
Now, when I was coming back from the beach, we took 2 cars. So I drove back with Evan and his buddy Connor. And I'm like, I need something to listen to. So I listened to the Working the Beat podcast with our friends Kevin Cooney.
Oh, Cooney
And the Colonel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, it's a nice podcast. They did a really good job. 2 interviews I listened to.
Oh yeah.
They had their last 2 episodes are Mikey Miss and Angelo Cataldi.
Oh wow.
So 2 guys, one that's already off the air and another one that's going off the air.
Right.
And
I
in
know
that
when-
setting, it's different. They're different in that setting.
Right. When Ange would bring on Kevin Cooney, I used to laugh. Oh, it was so funny.
Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better. Kevin Cooney. Call
Yep.
Cooney.
Nobody's doing it better.
So-
Let's go to some donkey reporter in Ohio. Nobody's doing it better. Right? But Ange in the episode, I sent it to you. You got to listen to it. Ange is not, going nuts and
right.
everything. He's very conversational
Mm,
and he's not in character.
okay.
And he talks about in the episode how the guy on the radio is a different guy than him, how he's socially awkward. Like you've met Ange off the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is very socially awkward.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was Kevin. And so Kevin just did the interview with Angelo. And then
Okay.
it was the Colonel and Kevin talking with Mikey Miss.
Now, how was
And-
Colonel's connection?
Of course, it was spotty. It
Okay.
sounded like, Cooney was perfect and the Colonel just kind of jumps in at weird times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Mikey Miss, I don't know if he got a good deal. I think he should have done more.
But it's on that spotty like AOL era Wi-Fi or probably what he has.
Yeah,
right?
it's just everything about him is disjointed, right? Which is why we love him. But I would recommend people to go back and listen, and you could definitely hear that there's a lot of salty dog and Mikey Miss about how it went down
Oh yeah.
because Angelo contacted him.
Oh really?
Ange talked about because Kevin asked Angelo about how Mike went out and how he's like Angelo's going out with a lot of fanfare. Ray
Sure.
went out with a ton of fanfare. And he said, I texted Mike and told him it wasn't right how it happened and invited him on his show.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike told him that I have a 3-month non-compete. He goes, well, you got 3 months. I'm here for 5 more. So eventually I'm sure he'll have he goes, I'm going to bring him in and
he should
and
go
give
on
him
there.
give him the send off that he deserves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Angelo's having like a Dr. J type of send off, it's like, it's like a year tour.
Yeah, exactly. And he says he's really uncomfortable with it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, he went out and threw out the first pitch of a Phillies game.
He also did some broadcasting with the crew there too. I think they did
a run hit when he was asked to task with play-by-play for a minute, and the guy hit a homer. So I thought it was interesting, and cool. I know a lot. We give Ange a lot of shit, and our buddy Kevin Kincaid gives him a lot of shit, but the career does speak for itself.
What is it, like 33 years?
Yep. I mean, think about that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your send-off was calling me saying, I'm done.
Right. That was it.
A one-person send-off.
That was it. 33 years, that's how long I've been out of college.
That's crazy.
I mean, Angelo's been the voice of Philadelphia sports radio. I mean, since I can remember sports radio existing.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the pioneers of
Rookie
the
and the rookie.
Yeah.
I
mean, say what you will, hot takes or, faux outrage and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the guy's laughed his way all the way to the bank for a long time, and he makes a lot of bank.
A lot of money.
Oh, man.
No
I remember when he had to stop paying his first ex-wife, when that court deal was over, you couldn't have seen a happier guy. I don't have to give her any more of my money. Just me and Dale.
It's kind of like Bruno when he finally was done with his alimony payments.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So, I mean, it's just crazy that 33 years. Yeah, I mean, Mike was in it for close to that as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
early 90s. Yeah,
just the long. I don't know where that format goes. I don't
either. I've been wondering about that for years.
Yeah,
I mean, ever since, even before I was no longer involved with it, I was starting to wonder about the format and just where do they go? Like, how do they tweak it? How does it evolve?
Here's the problem: is that now they're dealing with stuff like this, podcasts that aren't governed by, the FCC and governed by people tuning in and tuning out.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the issue is the over programming of, if somebody tunes in, they better hear the word Eagles.
Right. Or they're going to tune out. Like, how do we keep people from changing the channel?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing this, people are changing the channel and we're going to lose.
Yeah. So I don't know where it goes. I mean,
I
don't know how they handle. I know a lot of them are live streaming on YouTube and stuff too. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is they're still programming it that way.
Right.
And, when we were at the Fanatic did pretty well ratings wise. Right. I mean, we were there. We were in the game. Mike was winning. And, whether it was you and Tony or whoever, I mean, we were right there with them, and we beat them some months and they beat us a lot of months. I mean, they had the hand on us overall, but we were right there with them. I mean, from what I understand, the Fanatics getting the dick kicked in right now.
Is that right? Well, and that was for most of that time. We didn't have a local morning show.
Exactly. That's Mike and Mike.
Most of that was Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, when Anthony first came in, he was doing well doing mornings, and the meat locker, Baldy and the whole thing.
Right.
They were doing well, and then the wheels have just fallen off, and they got the best show ever now. Replacing Mike, you missed. What do you think of the name of the best show ever?
I'm confused. I mean, it's a best. I don't know if it's tongue in cheek or what. If they got that from somebody else, like a consultant came in and gave them the idea because it's working.
Rick on the phone.
I mean, this crew in Phoenix is kicking ass, and they called themselves, a similar type of name. I don't know, but it ends with a question mark, like it's asking you the question, isn't it? Best show ever? Like,
that's weird,
or is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I heard it was some kind of play on the best fans ever, best show. I don't know.
If I'm one of the three guys, I would, and Jennifer Scordo in there, I'd want my name on the show.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I never liked, because when I started at the Fanatic with that night show, it was called the Fanatics, the Sports Fanatics or something.
That's you, Rob, and Jamie?
Jamie Yannicone, Rob Ellis, and myself. Correct. And at some point, I was just like, man, we got to start getting our names out there. Like, it's not just tune into the Fanatics. It's like, tune into Jamie, Rob, and Harry, or whatever, however you want to do it. And it was like, that was like a thing for me to try to get my name out there and forget about the Fanatics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, come on. And then, Jamie moved on, or I forget what happened, but it became like me and Rob. And, it was like, let's just Ellison Mays, or, you know what I mean? Like, put our names out there.
Yeah. You put our name on the marquee. We're trying to move forward here.
There was a lot of resistance to that. I'm going to be honest.
All right. What do you need your name on it for?
Nobody cares.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the endorsement.
Right. Nobody knows who you are. Yeah, that's the point. That's why.
And they're never going to know when you call it the Fanatics.
Right.
I thought that was a brilliant idea, though, to do a show like that with three guys. Like, nobody was doing 3-man show outside of a morning show.
I think there was one down in D.C., though, with the Sports Junkies. They had like 3 or 4 guys on the show. And I think they're still around.
Yeah, they are. They're doing mornings.
Right.
I think there's like 5 junkies at this point.
Are there?
Yeah. And they were kind of just like fans that jumped into, doing radio. But yeah, I thought that was a good idea to do a show like that, especially at night where you could be irreverent a little bit.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But
a little loose.
Yeah.
We got loose. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, now, I don't know where it goes.
No, I don't either. Did you happen to catch over the weekend the Hall of Fame inductions for the NFL, for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and one Dick Vermeil?
I saw snippets of his speech, and Dick's going to be incredibly emotional, but I didn't have regular TV at the Shore, so I was relying on that stuff. I got to go back and watch it.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch it. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, he was presented by Carl Peterson, of course, and John Shira. You remember John Shira?
Yeah.
Shira was instrumental, and this was the theme of his speech, which I thought was really cool. He's a very humble man, Dick Vermeil, but the whole speech was about all the names of all the other people in his life that came together and maybe made a moment that helped him be in the Hall of Fame. In other words, he's like, without John Shira and the way he played in the Rose Bowl on January 1st, 1976 for UCLA, he was the MVP of the Rose Bowl, and they beat the mighty Ohio State Buckeyes and Woody Hayes. And I remember watching the game. I was 10, 11 years old. And
you had action on the Bet Parks app, Harry.
No, I was dreaming about the Bet Parks app when I was 10, 11 years old. But no, I didn't have access to it. But I would have taken UCLA plus the points, though. That you can be sure of. And they ended up winning the game. And it was like this made Dick Vermeil like this hot commodity. And the Eagles, immediately after the game, they chartered the plane and went out to L.A. and tried to lure him into, back into the NFL, because he was an assistant in the NFL for George Allen. And I believe Chuck Knox also with the Rams prior to that, and then got the UCLA job, has this great season. John Shira helps him beat Ohio State. And it was the theme all along. he's like Mike Jones. Do you remember who Mike Jones is? Mike Jones was the guy who made the tackle for the Rams against the Titans, where, Dyson ended up at the 1 half yard line. Had he not made that tackle, Dick Vermeil's not in the Hall of Fame.
They don't win a Super Bowl.
Right. It was things like this, which I thought was really, really cool. He pointed out everybody that was there. And so many of these people, if they were physically able, were actually in the stadium. Some guy drove across the country, some guy he coached with way, way back in the day. Guy's 90 years old. He was at the event. Like, it was really kind of cool. I mean, Sal Powell got a lot of run from Dick Vermeil, because Sal Powell was instrumental, I guess, along probably with Ray Didinger too, of saying, hey, Dick Vermeil's got to get in the Hall of Fame. It takes that kind of thing.
Yeah.
To get the ball rolling.
to push you.
Right. But I thought it was really, really cool, really well done. He even talked about John Wooden when he was at UCLA. Of course, Wooden was still the basketball coach there,
Yeah.
legendary John Wooden. And he said the story he brought up was, I was bemoaning, I lost a bunch of recruits, I guess the signing day or whatever had come, and he thought he was going to get, X, Y, and Z player, and he didn't get those guys. And Wooden called him into his office and said, "Hey, coach, we don't worry about the guys that we don't have. Your job is to do the best and to get the players that you do have and get the best out of them." And he said that was something that stayed with him forever. It was really cool. I love listening to coaches and talk about how they interact with people, becoming a leader and having a way to communicate with their players. I think that's fascinating stuff.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
it's one of the things, the dynamic of managing the personalities and the mentality and the emotion and all that stuff that I think is the most interesting stuff. And I think that stuff matters a ton. And Vermeil is such a good communicator. He's a great broadcaster too, right?
He talked about that too, about his broadcasting career, how it helped him, become a better coach. He's like, man, I now have access to, to go talk to this coach and watch him and how he holds a practice, Don Schuler or whoever it is. And he's like, this was amazing stuff for me. And, he's constantly learning. And he said it made him a better coach once he got back out into the game.
Absolutely. Because you can now talk to these coaches from a different perspective, and they're not as guarded secret wise.
Right.
And you take all these things and you go, okay, I love that element. Right. I never thought of that. And then you take all that data and information and you put your own spin on it. And it just broadens your mindset. It's brilliant. And he was a great broadcaster. And you're right. He's a good man. Right. And great to see Dick Vermeil go into the Hall of Fame. Cool. I wish he would have won an 80.
Yeah. Oh, Wilbert Montgomery was there. Speaking of 80. And
geez. Yeah.
Yeah.
He still looks like he can play.
I know. He had a big floppy hat on. He got up and because he'd tell these people to get up. He wanted them to be recognized.
Yeah. He's in the wine business now too, doing great things with Vermeil wines, and so he's a good guy, and one of the guys that when you do what we've done for so long, when you meet him, he's just like a genuine human being. You talk about Pete Rose, where we kind of started, and Lenny Dykstra, and how you're around them, you feel like you need a shower after you leave. You meet Vermeil and you just feel refreshed. Plus, he always says, "I'm going to ship you out a box of wine, a case of wine."
Not bad.
So it's always beneficial. Harry, with the partnership with Not For Long, they've asked us, because they'd like to share these top 5 lists. They asked us to share a top 5 list of the best wing flavors. Now, we're coming up on football season, which is also, in my opinion, wing season.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
So do you have a top 5 list of your favorite wing flavors?
I do. And, I was a big chicken wing guy back in the days when I was a bachelor, because chicken wings were, they were the meal, a couple nights a week. You're eating chicken wings, you're eating pizza, whatever. So I became, pretty familiar with a good spot here in the Conshohocken area. Flanagan's Boathouse was always a place that I used to go to. And their chicken wings kind of stood out to me a long time ago. Honey habanero is a really good flavor for me. Roasted garlic parmesan, that's a Boathouse one.
Oh, the old lady loves those.
Yeah, those are good. Peanut Thai is another Boathouse one that I really liked. But I just go also with the mild to medium, just regular buffalo sauce. I always appreciate it. So we'll go roasted garlic parmesan from the Boathouse, peanut Thai from the Boathouse, honey habanero. That's from my golf club over at the 1912 Club. Mild to medium buffalo sauce. You can pretty much get any old place. And the 5th one is the Tony Bruno sauce over at the Jug Handle Inn. Another fantastic spot for chicken wings in New Jersey. They got the Tony Bruno sauce.
What is the Tony Bruno sauce?
I don't know how they make it. It's a secret sauce.
Oh,
but it's very good.
Oh, very interesting. I'm a big fan. There's a PJ Wheelahan's right up the street from me out here in Westchester, and they have a sweet chili. So it's got like a sweetness to it and like a slight spiciness to it. It's really, I generally go with just the medium hot wings, and I'll actually go naked wing.
Oh yeah. Without the skin, right?
Yeah. Rotisserie. They have them at the Amish market here.
I like that.
They're rotisserie wings, but with no sauce on them. And I'll dunk those suckers right into some blue cheese.
Are you a blue cheeseman or a ranchman?
Oh, blue cheeseman.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
See, I kind of prefer the ranch. I could put ranch dressing on anything.
I could too, but the blue cheese with the wing is the contrast and the thickness of the blue cheese. And every once in a while, you get one of those blue cheese crumbles on the wing.
Yeah, the little hunk of blue cheese there.
Yeah, I'm always fishing for that hunk in the little 4-ounce plastic cup.
Goes down well with that ice cold draft beer.
That's exactly right, Harry. So, all right. So there's your top 5 wing flavors. What's your play again on the PGA event, the FedEx Cup this weekend?
On the Parks app, they got Sung Jae Im to win at plus 3,300. And also in a top 10, plus 335.
There you go. That's the play on the Bet Parks app for Harry. Right. And we're coming up on more preseason football. We are back to weekly, by the way.
That's right.
So we'll be back next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back next week. And of course, I started my show with Shander Show and Devin Caney last week. So we're in our second week of the Philly Voice Show, too. So we're very busy.
And that's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Harry?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's only 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh.
And you can check that out on the Philly Voice YouTube page.
That's what you've been trying to get your whole life is 15, 20-minute workday.
Right. 15 to 20 minutes. That's the whole point. I'm getting there.
That tends to not interrupt with your 18 holes a day. Other philosophy.
No, not 18 holes a day.
Close. Yeah. You'd love to get there, but that'll be for another time. But get your action in on the Bet Parks app. Get ready for football season and get your action in on the baseball season, player performances, same game parlays, alternate lines, you name it. It's all there. Easy to navigate, easy to use, faster to win than ever before. And right now, all Bet Parks users can use the promo code JASON750 and get a risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions apply. So make sure you download the new Bet Parks app today. You need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we're back next week. That's episode 29. Have a good week, Harry. We'll talk next week.
All right. Later.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And we'll talk to you next week on Bet Parks Presents the Odd G's